Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. Soccer down here. John here, you there. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Tuesday. We got stuff, the official term. And we could go in a couple of different directions with the Georgia High School Association quarterfinals / semis and all of that going on right now. We might be getting coaches dropping by if the 9 to 11 slot is better for them than the noon show, because we had the quarterfinals on the girls' side last night. We'll have the quarterfinals for the boys' side today on the network a little before 6:30, like 6:15. Mandy Cruz and I will be at McIntosh. Full house at McIntosh for Blue Bloods. Dalton and McIntosh on the boys' side. Winner advances to the semis in the left-hand side of the bracket. And we will have Matt Cheeves and the Dalton Catamounts going up against Bunkie Colvin, Brian Messer, and the McIntosh Chiefs. Blue Bloods, Blue Bloods, Blue Bloods, Blue Bloods, Blue Bloods. If I could say it 10 times fast. So big matchup tonight on the network, and it is at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And that is if you wish to check it out on the interwebs, and you can catch up there. You can listen to the broadcast. Like I said, Maddie and I will have pre-half, and we'll start you with your post-game. And we'll try and get you set up for the semifinals on the boys' side as best as we can. And what we will end up with is a full night of soccer, weather permitting. I know that a lot of folks, and it is, it's going to be really fun to catch up with everybody, and we'll go from there. So as I sit here and I'm trying to juggle. So that's the word I'm looking for. I'm trying to juggle coaches, and it will be coaches might make appearances in this show. They might make appearances in the noon show. So if I end up having to take a pause and send an email, that's why. But it is right here on the web, on the interwebs. You go here to our Mixler site, soccerdownhere.mixler.com, and then what we get to catch up with all of you folks. So you can go there, or you can download the Mixler app, MIXLR. They actually have an app. Let me show it to you on my phone real quick. And it would end up being, let's see here. Let me see if my phone will behave. Okay, so go into your apps, dial it over, and you go here. And here's what it looks like. I'm trying to shield it away from the light so you can actually see what it looks like. And so here's last night's matchup with Northgate and Jefferson right there. It is archived immediately after the fact. So MIXLR.com. And it is you can download the Mixler app and you can catch up with us there. And then what you can do is listen to it as many times as you want. And we would encourage that. And, 2:30 in the morning, you have one of those, you're up in the middle of the night, you got to go downstairs, you remembered something, or you just want to get some water or something like that. You can listen to it at 2:30 in the morning. You can listen to it 98 times if you want to. You can listen to it all over the place. And, you get to relive the experience. But I will say this, last night at, what's the word I'm looking for? Last night at Jefferson, that's the word I'm looking for. Last night at Jefferson, it was a great environment. And it was the first time that we'd been to Jefferson, because we were trying to get there and look at the activity that was there with our friends at Jefferson. And we would try to get there to the regular season. And we finally had the chance to catch up with them, and it was a fantastic game. On some polls, it was 1 versus 2. Some polls, it was 2 teams in the top 5, 1 versus 5 or 7 or what have you. But a great environment last night at Jefferson, and we can go back and listen to it. And it was a 2-0 win for the Dragons of Jefferson, and fantastic. I can't tip my hat enough to them for rolling out the red, white, and blue carpet as much as they did last night for the network. And put us up on the roof of their press box. And so it was a great crowd. Northgate had folks show up, and it was a fun environment in the quarterfinals. We've got most of the quarterfinal stuff decided, and it was a lot of interesting stuff that we go. And so it will be Jefferson on the left-hand side of your bracket. GAC will be visiting the Jefferson Memorial Turf in the semifinals, and so we'll go over that. If coaches end up parachuting in, we'll talk about it with these coaches, and we'll go from there. So it looks like as we are assembling guests, we might end up with Ben Grassmyer hopping in from North Oconee. It looks like Ryan Burkhardt will be in the noon show, and I think Morgan County's boys are also going to be in the noon show as well. So we're kind of stacking guests. And so if you end up seeing me duck off to the side and shooting an email, then that's why, because we might be having guests kind of parachuting in and discussing what's going on with everything that was happening either yesterday or today. And so it'll be a busy morning on a high school front for this show for coaches that can't get off on their lunch hours and get away from work, but you can be on in this show. So it's going to be all over the place this morning. So once again, thanks for hanging out with us here on Soccer's Morning Show. Literally, it is really it's been fun. We've had 31 match days in high school so far this season, and to be able to go to Perry and to Jefferson and to Winder Barrow and to Sonoraville and to Dalton and to Johnson Gainesville and to City Park, Bobby Greenfield City Park, and to Alexander and to all of the different places that we've been able to go. It's been a real fun season. Gilmer County, we were up there in LJ up in the mountains. So to be able to go all over the state and kind of catch things with the high school ranks, it's been really fun. Dell's wanting to know about Chris Aiken's side. Hang on just a second. So let me get you caught up on let's see, Chris Aiken soccer, and it all kind of blends together for me here. Clark Central, they lost in the previous round, so they lost in the round leading up to the quarters, round 2. And so, but no, it was great to catch up with Chris and find out what's going on up there at Clark Central. So they lost in round number 2, if memory serves. So it was, like I said, it was fun to catch up with Chris and go to all these different places this season. And so 34 match days by the time we're done today. It is McIntosh and Dalton, and the first semifinal Thursday. We think we know where we're going. We're going to let the GHSA know today, and then we'll have that broadcast. Morning, Jason. Morning, Alex. Morning, Tommy. Yes, happy Tuesday to all who celebrate. That is what we're staring at. But bottom line is you can do one of two ways to listen to all of our live content, not just high school, but that's where we are. It is right there on the web, soccerdownhere.mixler.com, or you can download on the web the Mixler app. Literally, you go to MIXLR and you can download the app, and then what you do when you load it, you can follow Soccer Down Here, and then anytime that there is a live event that we do, it'll trigger. And so then you'll get your notification, and it'll be like, hey, Soccer Down Here's got a game, and then you can listen to it. And Friday's going to be interesting because we're going to be in 2 places at once. More on that later, but it's going to be NYCFC 2 and Atlanta United 2, and it will be the semifinal Friday. It'll be our last match day broadcast of the season, and it'll be Matty Cruz and myself in one place. Jason will be with the twos, and we'll let you know what's going on. But it'll be wall to wall. But it's been fun so far this year, laying everything out for all of the guests and all of the venues and all of the sports and all of the everything. So it will be, it'll be fun to catch up with everybody and let you know what's going on. Like I said, it looks like Ben Grassmyer might be joining us here in the 9 o'clock show. And so we'll see what's up with Ben Grassmyer and what's been going on with his program. And But like I said, this is going to be kind of flying around this morning, and it'll be the same on Thursday. Well, it might be the same on Thursday as we dance around a little bit, but it might be more noon. The noon show will be today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and it'll be fun to kind of gauge the coaches' interests and see what's going on with them and see where they are and how are they handling the weather and all these kinds of things. So, it'll be fun to catch up with coaches as they see what's going on. So, Ben Grassmyer from North Oconee might be joining us in short order. So once again, we'll let you know what's up with all of the coaches, and we will. Oh, that's good. A Chrome exception, unknown software exception. An exception, unknown software exception. That doesn't sound good. So that better not be something that's going to be. So John is using Chrome. So hopefully our friends with Chrome decided to sit there and tell me what's going on. But Ben Grassmyer, North Oconee, looks like he might be joining us here in short order. But yeah, long version to a short question. That's the web address. That's the app. So web address, if you just want to listen off a computer, app, MIXLR. You can download the Mixlr app. Follow Soccer Down here. Saturday will be interesting. Friday will be interesting. It'll be something very, very cool and new with us here. And so we'll see. We'll see what's going on with everybody, and get the coaches acquainted with you if you haven't been following a program, and then we can let you know what's going on with all of that. So we'll see. All right. So with the high school coaches that might be dropping in, we're going to be bouncing around. But opening kickoff, and this might be a prolonged opening kickoff. All right. So fine. I'll change course. All right. So Michael Valverde brings this in, and I'll go ahead and say it. I will go ahead and let this go. So Necaxa now has new part owners, and it's our friends at Wrexham, Reynolds and McElhenney et al. So Necaxa, Michael Valverde says, Necaxa suddenly all the rage. If you thought you knew what fan support was with Wrexham, Necaxa is an entirely different animal. But yes, so with Michael bringing this to the table, we'll make this opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code. For those of you who are watching on Twitch, on YouTube, and on the 280 character app, and thanks that you do. Don't forget to use the code Soccer Down Here 15. You get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it in youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that they have earmarked as cool to continue to grow the game. And it is Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so you noticed that it was made yesterday. Yeah, and Eva Longoria, part owner. And apparently, from what I understand, she was part of the group that kind of knocked on the door of Mr. Reynolds and Mr. McElhenney and said, guys, maybe you'd be interested. So now they're adding to their portfolio, and the club, I think it was when the owners came in and you had new owners coming in, they purchased 50% of the club. And when you had all of these folks come in to want to be minority owners and everything, Sportico said that Club Necaxa was valued over $200 million when they brought in 3 new investors about 2 years ago. And Matt Walsh, Card Sound Capital managing partner Jake Jackson, and music entrepreneur Nick Gross, son of prominent hedge fund manager Bill Gross, they're all investing in the club. And it is a sharp valuation increase. Necaxa was valued at $150 million in June of 21 when they sold a 1% equity stake for $1.5 million using NFT technology. I don't know if that was the smartest thing in the world, but hey, if somebody decided that they wanted to invest through NFT, non-fungible tokens, that was a bit of an education for me at the time. It was, once again, to continue to learn how not to invest in something, it would be through an NFT. But somebody decided that they wanted to drop $1.5 million for a 1% equity stake using NFT. Al Tilas and Sam Porter led a group that purchased about half the club at a valuation in the low 9 figures. And the trio that came in 22, buying into the holding company that contains the Tilas Porter equity, and will have roughly 5 to 10% of the overall team shares. But Sportico's valuation had them at about $200 million. So now, the way that it is, it appears that Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, as we welcome in Jarrett this morning for opening kickoff, it appears that our Wrexham owners, and it looks like they're joining in, but it is a substantial investment, but it's not like a massive investment, if that makes any sense. So this sounds like something that might be in like the 10% category, where it might be modest 8 figures, something like that. No numbers have been let go, Jarrett, but the eventual takeover of the soccer sporting world by Reynolds and McElhenney has now gone to Liga MX. I think they're in for a bit of an interesting awakening when it comes to it.
It's a different world than Wales.
Yes.
It's a different animal. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how much the investment is, and we'll see what it is. Hopefully, this doesn't lead to people jumping on a desk and then telling me that Necaxa has done more for this sport in America than MLS has. And I can't, man. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't have the cholesterol for it.
I mean, I'm trying not to get the cholesterol for it, but
it's cool that you're getting more investment, and then, build off of what you've done at Wrexham, which is awesome. What you've done over there is awesome. So yeah, invest in Necaxa, see if you can take it and see if you can, help it continue to grow.
Yeah, and so that's what that's what we're.
Jason, it could be even worse than the no promotion story to try and sell like Wrexham. Imagine some world where like Necaxa does poorly, and then they just like transfer all of their investment to another club.
Oh my God,
that's happened before in Mexico. Not just with these guys, but like you kind of dance around. In the past, like they've kind of danced around, like this team is bad. Let's just transfer everything to another team.
Yes. So the numbers actually, Sportico has come out with the numbers, and it says some of Club Necaxa's backers purchased 5% of Wrexham. So that would be, well, I figured it would be 10, but it's 5. So that puts it at a value of what, 20 million? Or no, 10 million for 5%. So $10 million investment. So they cracked 8 figures. And so it's looking like Reynolds and McElhenney are going to, and this is, so it looks like they're taking that $10 million investment, 5%, and they're diving into Necaxa. And so that's what you're staring at right now with Liga MX, Reynolds, McElhenney, etc.
Yeah, and it was like, yeah, there's no promotion story, but there's still Liga MX, which is a story in itself that should be told. Like it's one of these things that every country has stories.
Mm-hmm.
If you are willing to do the work and get your hands down in the dirt, you will find cool stories in any country.
Yep.
Not just England, not just Wales, not just Scotland, not just the big five, not just a Western Eurocentric setup.
Mm-hmm.
Any country you go to, you can find great stories, and you can tell great stories. It doesn't have to just be one of the big five, or something that's kind of a flavor of the week. It can diversify. And hopefully we get some good stories out of this, and some of the history of Necaxa and the history of Mexico and the chaos of it all.
Yes.
There's always chaos.
Yes. Ben Grassmyer, North Oconee, is going to be joining us bottom of the hour. But yeah, Necaxa 9th in the table at the end of this most recent round, and so it's a club that is, as they say, fair to Midland. and you're hoping that next level of investment for whatever it can get you will end up heading to that will get you into that top 4, get you into that top 5. And so Nix is letting us know that they do have an interesting handful of owners. Eva Longoria, Justin Verlander, Kate Upton, Odell Beckham Jr., Mesut Özil. Insert joke here about Mesut
Özil in this economy.
Yeah. So that is part of the
find on this planet.
Yes. So apparently that's part of your ownership group. And just, Mesut Özil, he certainly found a way to find gigs and get paid and not play. Like I said, there's a joke in there somewhere about his ownership, but we'll see what's going on. But yep. Morning, Alex. Morning, Hutch. Morning, Nick. So let's see what the stories are, and if they end up telling them that Necaxa, that sure, why not? We'll go ahead and let you do another docu-series about all this kind of stuff. So is that the next stage in this for Necaxan awareness? Is that with season 3 of Wrexham coming up May the 2nd, then do you do the same thing? Do you allow the same thing to happen and try to have the same kind of magic dust that you had with Wrexham work with Necaxa? So it's a team in the middle of the pack. And, you're wondering if this particular level of investment is going to help in any way with the investors that are already there. So, great on you. Cool. Hope you're not overextending yourself, and I hope that you're not sacrificing one for the other when it comes to your levels of investment. And so that was interesting when that came across the wires yesterday as well. So, so we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, 5% investment, $10 million with the team valued at north of 200. So what do you do now? Now that you're in the pile and you're a part of the ownership group, what are you going to do to try to improve a team that was 9th in the Clausura? So that's where we are with this. So we'll see what's on the minds of McElhenney and Reynolds et al. When it comes to the new piece of the ownership pie that they have in Liga MX. But yeah, Jared, I think it is going to be a different animal that we see with their involvement in Liga MX. And do we get that window? I mean, how protective is Liga MX going to be of their product and their programs and all of this? And yeah, Dell, I mean, it could be a good investment with the World Cup coming. Yeah, Dell's looking at it from the 26 perspective. And yes, we will talk about 27/31 after Ben Grassmyer visits coming up here in short order. But yeah, I mean, you've added to your portfolio. Congratulations. Hopefully it doesn't dilute everything going on across the board. That's Opening Kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And this is, once again, the QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch, on Twitter, or on the 280-character app or on our YouTube channel. So it's one identified twice, 3 separate places, or listening to us later as a podcast on the SDH app through Spreaker. And once again, use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it with a lot of folks that are really trying to grow the game. And once again, it is a way to go about and do things with the Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So as promised, where we reach out to coaches, we reach out, and coaches, for some strange reason, they answer their emails. And they sit there and you go, yeah, I'll talk to Nelson and I'll see what's going on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to catch up with Life with North Oconee and catch up with Ben Grassmyer. So what room did you hide into this morning there?
The room just right across the hall. That's the room I'm in.
And yeah, so that's one of the things that's like, okay, let's try and figure out what in the wide world of sports is going on. So Nelson wants me to talk. And so I'm going to go hide in a spot. And so last night, for those that didn't have the chance to pay attention to what's going on, you had a bit of a big win in the quarterfinals to get you in the semis. For those that didn't get the chance to see what's going on in Quad A, go ahead and tell folks about it.
Yeah, we traveled to Starr's Mill High School, hopped on the bus for an hour and a half, 2 hours, sat in some traffic, and finally got over there. But had a really nice comeback win, a win that really is one that I'm going to circle for a long time. And, we were down 1-0 and scored a set piece from far in the second half, and then off a corner with about a minute left, ended up winning the game. One of those that, just a classic high school tight game won by set pieces. So an exciting one for sure.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, when you're going into an environment like Starr's Mill, I mean, it is blue blood. It is pedigree. It is history. All those kinds of things. What were the discussions that you had with the players going in to this matchup, knowing that, yes, Starr's Mill is royalty? Try not to get focused on that. Just focus on the task at hand. Did you talk about it early? Was it the elephant in the room that was kind of over there? How did you handle this road trip going up against the Starr's Mill?
Sure. Well, we had played them in our scrimmage this year, so we were familiar with their team. They ended up beating us 3-1 in the scrimmage, and that was we were okay with it because just playing them again, we were okay to lose the first one, knowing it's hard to beat a good team twice. But also we just weren't ready in the scrimmage. It was a scrimmage, and it just seemed like they were so connected in that scrimmage game, and it looked like they had been playing together for a whole season, and we were still just throwing things out there to see what came back and see what we could figure out. And so we believe we're in a really good place, and we've got the people or our players in the right positions, and we're building confidence with each game. And so we just knew coming in that they could slightly underestimate us since they beat us early in the year, and we were a completely different team. We were missing two of our top players in that scrimmage game, and we just wanted the chance for a rematch. And that's what we wanted. Just give us a chance to rematch that team, and we'll throw everything at them. So we're happy to have that opportunity.
All right, let me go through. Let me take this a half at a time.
Sure.
So first 40 minutes are in the books. You have the talk with the team about everything going on, what you've seen in the first 40 minutes. What was the discussion like? What did it lead to, and what was the message heading into the second 40?
It was Starr's Mill's a very possession-oriented team, and it was just a reminder that, guys, it's okay if they have the ball. We've kept it 0-0 at the half. It's okay if they have the ball. We've got to be comfortable with them having the ball and playing backwards. As long as they're not breaking us down, we're okay. So it's just kind of a reiteration of the game plan. We were focusing on their number 12 in the midfield is such a player. She just controls everything. We're focusing on her a lot and just keeping her at bay. And we thought we did a good job. But really, we didn't allow them to create many opportunities. So it's just a reminder of, hey, it's okay. Like we're fine. We don't have to control the ball the entire game. We knew we weren't going to. And so just a kind of a reminder to the team was the halftime talk. Also, just to keep a level head. A couple of kids were on yellow cards, and just to stay organized and keep with the game plan. If we have to make a change, we will. But it's just to keep with the game plan was really the talk.
And so then it's mega competitive. Set up for me what happened in that goal, basically at the death, that gave you the advantage and eventually the win.
So after we gave up a goal, we made a few changes. We have an elite center back who also is quite a good forward. So after we go down, that's kind of a plan, is to kind of throw her up top and see what we can create. And so we started creating a few more chances, and just knowing we had 3 or 4 set pieces right there in the last 5 minutes. But with the corner, there's 2 minutes on the clock, and we were telling our girl just to breathe, take your time, breathe, make sure we hit a good one. And it's awesome how it worked out. Our girl who scored, we had a conversation with her before the game, and I just said, hey, I think you're scoring with your head today. And she ended up scoring right there with her head. And She looked at me and gave me this little heading notion, and I was like, yeah, I know. So it was just such a special moment for that kid individually, and then for the whole team and the parents and everybody. It was a very cool moment that we'll all remember for a while. So
when it comes to you and your history, for those that do not know it and how you ended up with the gig there at North Oconee, one of our plus ones says there's an interesting accent for Coach Grassmyer. You're definitely not from GA, and no, you are not from Ball Ground or Toccoa, sir. For those that do not know your history, break it down.
I'm from Snellville, Georgia. I went to Brookwood. I just talk funny, I guess.
It's allergies.
Yeah, I can't open my eyes, can't sneezing, my nose is stuffy. Yeah, I didn't sleep much last night. I don't know what it is.
That was going to be my follow-up question. It's like, how much rest when did you get home from Starr's Mill?
I think 11.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No, and then, just start watching film and try to lower the heart rate a little bit. And, just keep rolling. Playoffs are a grind, and it's a fun time.
So how did you end up getting the gig at North Oconee, for those that don't know?
So I went to the University of Georgia. It was kind of my pathway. It was a decision to end up playing at a small school or go to UGA. And I ended up going to Georgia and ended up playing the club soccer route there, and got into coaching right away. Coached at a local club here, and coached high school all throughout college as well at Oconee County High School on the boys' side with Colin Connors, and just kind of fell in love with the area. Started substituting over here and got offered a job. So it's kind of a wild story if I went more into detail, but yeah,
we got time, Ben.
Well, I had such a rough time student teaching. I thought I was going to say goodbye to teaching and step away. And I kind of worked a few odd jobs right after college. And I was substituting, thinking, maybe I should try this degree. And I ended up taking 2 years off afterwards and just didn't really think I was going to do it. And after I substituted at Malcolm Bridge Middle School, which is North Oconee Middle School practically. And I kind of told myself, if something came to this, I'll try teaching, if this opportunity opened. And so I ended up chatting with the principal about it. And he was like, well, we don't have an opening. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. And I had plans to kind of travel Europe for a while, and I was leaving on April 20th. And we were going to go for 3 months. And I said, you know what, if I don't get a job before this, I'll just keep kind of doing what I'm doing. I'll figure out what life's looking like after that. And so all through the spring, I was subbing and just, no opportunity. And about a week before the principal called me, a week before I left to Europe, he said, hey, I might have a teacher retiring. And if I do, I might have an opening for you. And so it wasn't until the day before I was leaving, he called me that morning and said, she's retiring. Would you like this job? And I drove in. I said, yeah, absolutely. Perfect. And then he asked me, he's like, do you want to coach middle school? I was like, not really. I'd love to coach the high school team, but they've got coaches up there, but I'll do whatever you need me to do. And then the next day on the way to the airport, the AD called me and said, hey, I need a girls soccer coach. My guy just left. I said, well, this couldn't have fallen more into my lap than it has. So then I hopped on an airplane, traveled for 3 months, came back and had a job. And it's one of those times in my life I was like, I'm definitely where I'm supposed to be. And it's been a joy for me ever since. And I've really got to kind of grow up the past 8 years doing this. And it's been awesome.
You've only given up one goal in the postseason, and that was in the match to Starr's Mill. You were come out as a 2 seed out of Region 8. No worries, shutting out Luella in round number 1. Then you had to go to Tunnel Hill to beat Northwest Whitfield, and we've had Northwest Whitfield on our air this year. And then you get to go on the road. So literally you've had 2 road games, and then, as a 2 seed, you're going to have to go to Westminster, who was the region champ out of Region 6. What has this run been like where you took care of business in round number 1, you had to do it on the road in round number 2, not giving up a goal, and then you go and do what you did last night against Starr's Mill? What's this run been like for you guys?
It's been awesome. I think we're well prepared with the regular season. We went away to Marist, which was the whole point of scheduling that game, was to put ourselves away at a really good private school, at a team that's historically fantastic, one of the best teams in the state. We wanted to put ourselves in tough situations. We went away to Jefferson, who's one of the best teams in the state. We went away to Oconee, who is a very solid 3A team. So we're road tested, and we knew we needed to be. We were fortunate last year to win a couple coin flips and host all 4 rounds until the final. We just figured we're not going to have that luck again if we don't win the region, and we ended up not winning the region. So I believe we're road tested and we're ready. With last night, we started, revenge tour, and tomorrow is a rematch of the state champ, or not tomorrow, Thursday's a rematch of the state championship from last year. And so we're just kind of using that as motivation and kind of believing in ourselves more as we go. So
what does Westminster bring to the table for someone who hasn't seen them play? And you've already started staring at film until probably about 2 or 3 o'clock this morning. What does Westminster bring to the table?
8 straight state championships. They're just solid. They're solid all around. You got to go to their field. It's a massive field, grass field. That's incredible. They bring the atmosphere as well. I've scouted them there a couple of times last year, and we just, we got to be ready. But we also play on grass, so that's nice. And I think just using last year's motivation for this year is what we're going to do. And every game we've played for the past 2 weeks now, it's just kind of raised our confidence level. So we'll throw everything we can at them.
All right. Couple of questions from our plus ones before we get you out of here. So maybe you can go get a nap in a corner someplace.
Yeah, right.
Between now and Thursday. We mentioned that you're a Gwinnett County kid. One of our plus ones wants to know, Abby, where are your parents from? Her kids are from Georgia, but she and her husband are not, so the accent, the southern accent does not exist. Where are your parents from? To where, or is this allergies that we're hearing this morning?
It must be allergy. My mom's from Kansas, but from Kansas, and my dad's from Charlotte. So they met up in Charlotte and moved down here right when I was born. So allergies, I guess.
So Del Schaefer, who is watching and listening from Charleston, he's our Charleston Battery plus one. What European teams do you support, or who do you support in general? And do you ever show your team tapes from clubs overseas as to, give examples as to how to play and what messaging you're trying to get across? Who are your teams, and do you show tape of them?
Yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan through and through, big time. Heartbroken Jurgen Klopp's leaving. He's an idol of mine for sure. So big Liverpool fan. And
you and John Bowen from Starr.
Yeah, we talk about it every year. We text a couple times throughout the season about Liverpool and the season and stuff. And John's a great guy, and I really appreciate him. And big Liverpool fan. I'll be honest. No, I don't go through, like Liverpool or anything like that with the team. Obviously, like in the brain, it's like, oh, can we do this? Can we play like this? And a lot of it's not replicatable in high school, but we are big in trying to promote more of the girls game too. And that's something just through coaching girls is really been awesome for me. It's just trying to be more of an advocate for girls sports and girls professional sports. And it's fantastic how a lot of the, local top kids now are going pro earlier and staying involved with them and just communicating that and showing stuff regarding the draft and things like that to our girls, and just raising the awareness of just the professional league for the women, and is a goal of ours. And Athens now has a semi-pro team, starts this year, and that's right next door. And the coach is a local college coach, and their assistant, it comes to some of our games. So just kind of staying in tune with what's going on locally around the women's game is more focused than the professional, European Liverpool stuff on the men's side. So.
Okay. So then, all right. So I fibbed. 2 more questions. Michael Valverde watching from Charlotte. He's asking, what would you say to Mo Salah at this point?
Oh man, him and Klopp kind of got into it last game, but
if I speak, there will be fire.
If I speak, yes, exactly. it's hard. It's hard, and you don't know all the details. And knowing that as a coach, and I've always enjoyed seeing how Klopp's handled things and trying to keep it within the locker room. And I think that was his response, was that we've spoken about the locker room and that's it. Like, moving on. I've always appreciated that, but Mo's a player, and I imagine we might lose him this summer, but it's going to be impossible to replace those goals. That's something I've learned ever since Daniel Sturridge left. And I wasn't even a huge fan of Sturridge, but he scored, and you can't replace goals. Like, that's just the game. You gotta have goals. So big fan of him. My assistant coach wore never give up shirt, which Mo Salah wore against Barcelona in the second leg when we won the Champions League, the crazy Anfield comeback. And so he actually printed the exact same shirt and wore it last night, and our parents were all about it, and especially going down. So it kind of came the theme of the game.
Nice. All right. So now this is my final question. Abby says her son enjoyed coaching the women more than the men when he was a GA after playing because they took direction better in his mind. Your thoughts since you coached both?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of strange. I got into coaching girls simply because I was coaching a boys high school team, and I had a boys club team that went to that high school. And so I figured, okay, I'll switch to girls club so I can coach boys high school still. But even though there's a crossover rule, if they still go to the same school, you still can't coach them. So I kind of didn't know that rule before I had kind of gotten into all this, and just accidentally stumbled into coaching girls, and I've never looked back. It's been the biggest joy for me, and I've loved it. I've had to learn a lot, but I would say coaching girls I enjoy it because when it comes to tactics, and soccer is so much easier to implement something. They are so much more responsive to tactics and listening to game plan, and they will. If they believe in you, they'll do just about anything. And sometimes you don't even have to train it. You just have to talk it. And the littlest things can be fixed, versus boys that sometimes are harder headed and harder to get things through to them. But on the boys side, I do enjoy the competitiveness, and just, as a male coach, the locker room with the boys, like I do miss that kind of stuff. But no, I've loved coaching girls, and I don't really ever see myself, switching back. But
well, thanks for hanging out with us this morning and answering the bat signal. It's like literally I send out an email and Ben's like, yeah, I'll come in. It'll be great.
Absolutely.
And so, Ben, thanks for hanging out with us. Congrats on the big win on the road at Starr's Mill. And I know that you're going to get ready for what's going on with Westminster. Thanks for coming on the morning show and seeing what's going on. I don't know, rub your eyes, put some fresh water in, get the compress going. Maybe the Lone Ranger compress and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
For Westy. Thanks for coming on, and be safe, John. And we'll catch up soon.
Thank you, man. I appreciate all you do for us and the soccer community. So thank you, sir.
All right. That's Ben Grassmyer. And so we're going to do the hot tag. For those of you that watch maybe on Monday or Wednesday or pay-per-views or things, there's called the hot tag. And so literally we're going from one to the next because the queue is lined up. And for this one, we go to Woodville-Tompkins. First time we've ever had Woodville-Tompkins on the show. Coach Pinckney, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Doing all right. Thanks for answering the bat signal.
Thanks for having us on.
All right. So for those that may not know the story of Woodville-Tompkins, it is lower classifications. And what's it been like for you to be a part of the Woodville-Tompkins program on the boys' side, putting some big numbers on the board and getting ready for a big one?
We have a nice little community here. We're a magnet program. We're a career and technical high school, so our kids leave here with some type of trade. We have culinary, collision repair, aviation. I'm the boring history teacher, so I don't really have a fun class, but I coach soccer and cross country here, and we have a nice little community. Everyone buys in.
For those that are filling out their brackets in pen, low left. And you win 6-2 over Dublin round 1, 7-2 over Temple in round 2. For someone who hasn't seen you play, how would you break down what you guys do?
We're a really, really possession-based type of soccer game. We try to feed the ball around, try to get to the open man, and then when the opportunity comes to score, We got to get the defense kind of toned up. We had some big wins in the first 2 rounds, but those 2 goals in both of those games, they kind of overshadow the goals that we scored, in our opinion. So we got some tightening up to do, especially for a good school like Mount Vernon. But if you come and watch us, we're trying to be fast paced, try to stay in our formation, and we try to just move the ball around, try to get the passing lanes open and cut off the opponent's passing lanes.
All right, so time to talk up your roster a little bit. I know that you've got a fantastic scorer who was very, very busy last time out. For those who haven't seen you, break down your roster for us.
We got Luis Lopez, who's a senior this year, senior captain. He was one of my COVID babies. When we first came back, we had to choose whether or not we were going to have soccer or not. In 2021, we were a virtual school. And so the kids would, do the stuff online, and they'd come, and here comes this little freshman with a man bun, not even maybe 120 pounds. And, we put him out there, and he scores 16 goals as a freshman. And then it just built from there. And now he's our school all-time goal scorer with 81 goals. He just had a tryout at Central Georgia Tech in Macon. Gave him a good look. But, he's our Swiss Army knife. He can apply the pressure, drop back and play CDM. He can finish, play wide, serve the cross in. Just really a hard-working kid.
When it comes to how things are in Class A, what has it been like for you getting ready for this particular schedule? How did you challenge yourself? What I like to do is talk about things in 3 separate seasons. You have Season 1, your non-region schedule, which gets you ready for Season 2, which is your region schedule, which you hope gets you ready for Season 3, which is your playoff schedule and the run that you've been on so far. How do you think Season 1 got you ready for Season 2 and then got you ready for Season 3?
I like the way that you phrased that too and put that together. Season 1, we try to load up with a lot of we played a good bit of 3A schools, and we played one Giza school, but we tried to stay local, but also play some on the road to some of the private schools around here. I believe we went 1-3-1. Me and my assistant coach were meeting quite a bit and thought that this was not going to be a great season after that. Then when region play came into play, we kind of had a little win streak going. Lost to Metter pretty bad at Metter. And then we hit the drawing board, and decided that we were going to get back to Fitness Mondays. And after the weekend, we hit a good bit of exercise, workout drills, added some more conditioning to our routine, went on a nice 4-game win streak, won the region. And then when it came down to the playoffs, same thing, we kept it going. As you see, I think we scored 13 goals so far in the playoffs, so I do believe that that's paying off. But we kind of shifted where we kept our technical stuff at practice, but we added a little bit more push-ups here and there, a little more crunches here and there, a little more laps here and there, and the kids bought into it. And I think you see right now we got another 10-win season, had our third 10-plus win season in a row, so doing pretty good. And it's just like I told you when you first asked about school, we have a good crop of kids that buy into our philosophy, and it's just, hopefully it'll pay off again tonight.
When it comes to multiple sports, you coach both cross country and boys soccer. Are you the kind of coach that encourages multiple sport activities there at Woodville-Tompkins? Do you sit there and it's like, okay, focus on one thing because I know that might help you out with your future? When it comes to doing multiple sports there on campus, are you a proponent of those kinds of things to help out with crossover and how muscle memory and all these kind of all that kind of stuff would work? Are you a proponent of multiple sports?
Well, I don't want it to be a cop-out answer because I coach cross-country and soccer, but I do want my boys, if they're not in a club season or anything like that, they have to come run with me. I don't make cuts for cross-country. The best of the best represent us at the region meets and the local meets and such like that. But I do believe because, cross-country is a fall sport and soccer is a spring sport. I do believe that, that gets us going. We don't have an extensive amount of sports here. We don't have baseball. We don't have football. We don't have tennis. So we have a pretty good community with our coaches, with making sure that our athletes we do have to kind of share athletes. We have a school that's less than 630 kids as well. So, the crop of athletes is only so fine. So we do a good job of sharing. Am I a proponent of it? Of course, with soccer's going on, my goalie also runs track, and we have to meet with my track coach and make sure that we have to see what the meets are compared to what games are that week. But we do work together with that, and if my other coaches come onto the stream and see this report, I'm going to say yes. I'm a big proponent of sharing athletes.
When it comes to the soccer community there on campus, I want to ask about support, because we've had coaches on, whether it's on our noon show, and we'll discuss how things are in certain communities. I'll give you an example, like the Pinelands and Jeff Davis, where Jeff Davis, they are making their run, and they had a matchup against Appling County, where in American football, you're 20 miles apart, you're rivals, and it's Baxley and it's Hazelhurst, and they're going at it, and it ends up being what you would anticipate for an FOOTBALL Friday, a football Friday crowd where you can't find a seat. It's crazy. Everybody's going all over the place there in a non-traditional, I'll go ahead and use air quotes, a non-traditional soccer market. What's the crowd support been like for you there on campus, whether it's student body, faculty, folks nearby Woodville-Tompkins? What's the support been like for you this season and since you've been coach?
Since I've been coach, it's gotten a lot more. We're having more people show up at the games. Postseason is a lot different. Basketball reigns supreme down here in Savannah. We wouldn't even try to compete with the basketball school and getting people there. We have been at a disadvantage this year because we used to play in Garden City Stadium, which is maybe 2 miles down the road. And we have had to have 4 different venues for home games this year. We've had to play at Savannah High, Islands High School Stadium, which, if you know the area, is on Whitmarsh Island. We've had to play at Memorial Stadium, where we'll be hosting Mount Vernon tonight. And we've had to play right in front of where the Savannah Bananas play, Morris Field at Daffin Park. So we've had 4 different home venues all season. It depends on the game as well. We were 2A for a while. So like you said, Jeff Davis, when we played, we always had a big crowd for the Jeff Davis games. And Toombs County, those are 2 great coaches right there, Lawson and Moore, that they get their stands filled when we go there. And hopefully we try to reciprocate it. But basketball reigns supreme here, and we're trying. On game days, I have a good principal and administrative staff that puts out stuff on Instagram and morning announcements. I'll walk around, put flyers up on the school during my planning period. Hopefully tonight we'll have a larger crowd there, but I do wish we could get a little bit more, and hopefully in the near future, when we have more of a site built near campus, we can, pack that stadium on game days.
What does Mount Vernon bring to the table?
I was looking at the roster the other day, a lot of juniors. I see that they're kind of taking it bit by bit. I saw, a couple days ago, first time to the Sweet 16, first time to the Elite 8, which I know gets your players, fiery. When you're able to get them to buy in on milestones and stuff like that, that's a hard team to bring. Any team from the Atlanta area, we always know is going to have probably some club players on the roster. See a midfielder that scored a good bit, and was watching a little bit of film today, and looks like they'll take some shots from far. So we got to make sure the defense is locked in, the CDMs are ready to go, and as we say with our keeper, man, keep that torso lined up with the ball.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for coming by and letting everybody know about Woodville-Tompkins there in Class A. Kalen Pinckney, the head coach of the Wolverines. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
That's
Have a
Kalen.
good day.
All right, be good. That's it for hour number 1. Visits from North Oconee and Woodville-Tompkins. We can check Woodville-Tompkins off the list. I'd like to thank Coach Pinckney for answering the bell early this morning. And so literally it is, and that's cool because we've not had Woodville-Tompkins on any part of our shows this season. So to be able to let everybody know what's going on there. I knew that basketball for me was the first thing that I traditionally think of when it comes to Woodville-Tompkins down there in Savannah. But great to catch up with the cross country coach and the boys soccer coach. They made region title history back in 23, getting their first ever region title. So Coach Pinckney has got Mount Vernon tonight, Class A boys, and it is going to be it's going to be a tall order for them. Mount Vernon coming in as the 3 seed out of Region 6. Region 6 has Atlanta International as the 1, Whitfield Academy as the 4, and Paideia as the number 2. And so that's where Mount Vernon comes into play. Mount Vernon beating Darlington 3-2, then beating Tallulah Falls on the road 2-1, and they're probably on the road now if they haven't already gotten on the road. It's Mount Vernon at Woodville-Tompkins tonight, and that is part of what's going on in Class A. East Laurens and Paideia. Very busy day for East Laurens. The boys host Paideia. The girls have to travel to Social Circle. So it's a very, very busy day for them in Class A. So thanks for indulging us on the high school side of things here in hour number 1. Great to catch up with Coach Grassmyer at North Oconee after their big win last night against Starr's Mill, and catching up with Coach Tompkins. First time ever we've had Woodville-Tompkins on the show. So it's great to catch up with all of them and get everything squared away on the high school side. Remember, at noon, it is Soccer's in Session Live, quarterfinals Tuesday. And we're going to try and catch up with coaches around the state and let them talk about what's going on, go through what happened last night on the girls' side, get you ready for what's happening on the boys' side, and get you ready for the final quarterfinal day, Monday and Tuesday, and then once again, off day tomorrow. And once again, all of this is weather permitting, because for those of you here in the footprint, you know how crappy the weather is right now. So our broadcast plan, once again, is 6:15 pregame show with Mandy Cruz and myself. 6:30, it is Jess and Jason calling Dalton and McIntosh at McIntosh. And it will be Blue Bloods starting at 6:30. Like I said, weather permitting. And the weather is changing. It was supposed to be, thunderstorms during the day, and now it might not be. So we'll see what's going on with all of the weather. We'll keep an eye on that. But once again, 6:15 pregame, 6:30 kick with McIntosh hosting Dalton, and on the board after that, 10 o'clock Eastern time on 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app. It is Jason and Atlanta Soccer tonight. And I think he's trying to find a location to do the particular broadcast. So we'll see what Jason comes up with tonight for AST, and we'll see what it looks like for him coming up in short order. But no, it was great to catch up with Coach Grassmyer and find out about his Liverpoolness, and we'll see what happens there with Liverpool as well. All right, hour number 2. And here in hour number 2, we'll start things off with what happened or what didn't happen, more specifically yesterday. And it has to do with the World Cup. No World Cup here in the United States in 2027 on the women's side. And this came as, a bit of a surprise. And, there's always that hope that you're going to sit there and have that continued run of everything that is going on here in this particular part of the planet. You figured that the run might continue by 2027. Club World Cup, Copa America, 24. You've got the Olympics in 24, 25 Club World Cup, 26 the World Cup, 27 you thought it would be a natural progression to have the Women's World Cup here. But yesterday, word comes out that the U.S. is withdrawing their bid for 27 and going to pursue the joint bid with Mexico for 2031. So they withdrew weeks before the public vote, which is scheduled for the 17th of May. In Thailand. And so now the two North American federations are going to focus on 31. The statement that came out basically says that withdrawing the 27, focusing on 31, it will allow the federations to fully take advantage of what they learned from 26 and provide greater support for host cities, many of which could host both men's and women's matches. I don't know, kind of like... how do we phrase it? Atlanta? Because if you are in your, if you are putting 50,644 in a building for the She Believes Cup and keeping probably at least half of that for the matchup that did not involve the United States, that I would maintain that Atlanta is one of the contenders for the Women's World Cup final in whatever cycle you want to put it in. 70-something thousand folks being there for the last game of a tournament, the drop of a hat. I could see that very, very easily. U.S. Soccer also said that by pushing back the bid, they could more fully focus on ensuring that a Women's World Cup hosted by the two feds would have equal investment to the men. Proposed timeline of a jointly hosted 26 men's tournament amongst U.S., Mexico, Canada, followed by the proposed women's edition, the 28 Olympics, and the other hosting obligations for smaller tournaments, 2027, might have been too much. So they pull it back. We're going to focus on 31. Football Association Chairwoman Debbie Hewitt previously said that England is considering launching a bid for 31. And so now this means that it is either going to be Brazil or Belgium, Germany, Netherlands. Those are the two bids that are under consideration in May for the 2027 World Cup. Brazil's the heavy favorite. They hosted a World Cup back in 2014. FIFA, it might be smart for them to try and invest in infrastructure, try to continue to grow the game in the region. We all know what it is doing on the European side of things. But if you were to give it to Brazil, once again, remember, you could end up having a Women's World Cup final at the Maracanã. Stadia are there, although I do wonder what the infrastructure is like, considering that the World Cup was there in 14, and it makes you wonder, like a stadium in Manaus that was in the Amazon, it makes you wonder where you can have stadia, how in-depth you have the stadia, how many different venues is what I mean. And then you go from all of that to their current state of affairs. You know, when it comes to renovations and things like that, do you need to sit there and look at the stadia as they are currently being monitored, not constructed, but monitored? Because looking back at the 2014 venues and the sheer numbers of them, I would anticipate that having the venues themselves in number would not be the issue. But for Brazil, it is ever since 2014. You're talking 10-year-old stadia. What is monitoring? What is upkeep? What is, how much activity do these stadia get? And while it may make sense to have something in Brazil, would it, where are the stadia right now when it comes to standing upright, amenities, those kinds of things? What does it look like with the 2014 World Cup venues? So while Brazil might be the smart play to continue to grow the game in South America, that would be my number one concern is infrastructure. And can you get it turned around in basically 3 years to where if there are issues that need to be addressed, can you make things look shiny, nice, new, and have it be, functional for the best in the women's game come 2027? Like I said, that would be my question. Our friends at The Athletic did a bit of a deep dive. Do you put on a World Cup in Europe 5 years after you had the last one? Same can be said for the United States, obviously. You'd be 4 years after the World Cup there, but the infrastructure here in the United States could handle something like that. They just need a bigger runway than, 3 years. So if you give the United States 7 and some separation from all the other events and venues, then you should be okay. That would be the larger question for me. The Athletic brings the thought that if you had it spread out in Europe, it would not be as taxing on one country, and you would have multiple confederations sitting there and going, okay, You handle this, you handle this, you handle this. Belgium's aiming for a 10% increase in female players every year until 2027. Netherlands aiming for 15%. Germany aiming for 25% growth in women's participation. That includes refs and coaches. Extensive history in Brazil for hosting events. 2016 Summer and Paralympics, 2014 World Cup, 2019-2021 Copa Americas. Bid book says 10 cities would host matches. 10 of the 13 earmarked venues having been used for the 2014 World Cup. Capacities ranging from 40,500 in Manaus to the Maracanã, which holds just over 73,000. 8 of the 10 potential host cities in the eastern half of the country, closest to the Atlantic Ocean, 6 on the coast. Cindy Parlow-Cone yesterday quoted, "Proud of our commitment to provide equitable experiences for the players, fans, and all our stakeholders. Shifting our bid will enable us to host a record-breaking Women's World Cup in 2031 that will help grow and raise the level of the women's game both here and at home as well as across the globe. Fully committed to organizing a memorable and historic Women's World Cup that players and fans will benefit from. After careful analysis, they feel moving their bid back to 2031 will allow to promote and build up the most successful Women's World Cup ever. Strength and universality of our professional women's leagues, coupled with our experience from organizing the 26 World Cup, means that we will be able to provide the best infrastructure as well as an enthusiastic fan base that will make up all the participating teams feel at home and put together a World Cup that will contribute to the continued growth of women's football," quoting Ivar Cisniega, the president of the FMF. So that is where we are with 2027. The U.S. is like, nope, we're cool. We'll focus on 2031. This way, if you think about it, you're not sandwiching anything in. You're trying to, instead of having it be part of an assembly line, you want it to be its own event. And then continuing to have things churn and churn and churn over and over and over and over and over, trying to hit the same markets and the same markers when it comes to promotion and sponsorships, etc. You give yourself a little breathing room. 7 years possibly instead of 3 to put something like this together. The venues are not the problem. Having all of these events leading up to the 26 World Cup in rapid succession, and the women might have felt like they were at the end of the line when it comes to sponsor dollars, etc. It would be like, hey, what about us? Oh, I don't know, man. We spent a lot of money on the 26 World Cup. I don't know what we can help you with. So giving yourself that space might help the process out. So that's what, as you think about it and you process it through, it makes a lot of sense. That you're going, yep, this way the Women's World Cup gets this big runway, gets a lot of things to do, and you can figure out, okay, runway, we can have the sponsors set up 4 years down the line. We've learned more from 27 than we did about 30, then we can apply to 31. It makes sense. In Europe, you're 5 years removed from that kind of major activity. In South America, you are 10 years removed now. You would be 13 by the time you would have the World Cup. But once again, you're in Brazil, and 13 stadia are in the bid book. And we'll see how infrastructure would be for those 13 stadia if it does, in fact, go to Brazil. What is the transportation aspect of all of this? Housing, hotels, all of those kinds of things, getting from venue to venue. And I'm not just talking about fans that want to go into the, for fans that might want to go into the Amazon. 2014 World Cup venues. All right. So I'm looking at the 2014 venues. You had 64 matches, 12 stadia, the Maracanã, Brasilia at Garrincha. It was a new stadium 10 years ago. Sao Paulo was new, 63,000. Fortaleza had the Castelao, which was renovated. Belo Horizonte, the Estadio Mineirão, renovated. Porto Alegre, Estadio Beira Rio, renovated. Salvador, Arena Fonte Nova, new at 51.7. Recife, Pernambuco was new at 42. Cuiabá, Pantanal, new at 41. Manaus, new at 40. Natal das Dunas at 39.9, basically 40. Curitiba, Baixada, 40, renovated. So that was what you were staring at with the stadia for the Men's World Cup, no less than 39. So 40,000 was your bottom when it came to your attendance, your capacities. Then obviously you're staring at the Maracanã for 74, 75,000 and that kind of a thing. So of the new stadia that were built for the World Cup 10 years ago, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 12 were new. The other 5 renovated. But getting to say, like I said, the one that sticks in my head is the one in Manaus. Manaus is basically, you're in the rainforest. And there is no real way to get there. 3, 6, 9 of the venues were along the coast. Access fairly simple if you're there. Then obviously you have the one in Brasilia because it is the capital. But Cuiabá, away from everybody. Manaus, rainforest. Yeah, Manaus literally, it is like off the trail compared to everybody else. But of the stadia that are there, I want to know what their current status is. I mean, honestly, the 5 that have been renovated might be in better shape than the ones that are not. But no 2027 for the U.S. We're going to focus on 31. U.S. and Mexico are like, okay, yeah, we're going to chill. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the vote from 2027. Is it going to Brazil? Is it going to the 3 countries that want to house it in Europe? Brazil hasn't had it in 10 as of right now. Europe hasn't had it in 5. But that was the big piece of news that happened yesterday when it came to the world events for the sport of soccer. That was by far the biggest piece of news that happened yesterday. We were like, oh, okay, that was intriguing. But there you go. We've also mentioned a couple of other things that have gone on involving other clubs and the Prem and all this other kind of stuff. Our buddies at Nottingham Forest, they're having a bit of a day. They are having a day. Paul Taylor at The Athletic, an independent panel has told Forest that they should have been awarded 1 penalty from their unsuccessful appeals at Everton. Remember, we had Bart Keeler come on and discuss those penalty shouts for reffing down here. The third one of the 3 was the one for me that was a penalty. You're stomping on Callum Hudson-Odoi. You know? And you didn't get it called. Obviously, that the Everton no calls were what started the new round of talks about Anthony Taylor and Stuart Atwell, and he's a Luton fan and all this kind of stuff. So, having reviewed the 3 incidents, all of it involved Ashley Young, by the way, the panel that was made up of 3 ex-players or coaches, a representative of the PGMOL, the Professional Game Match Officials Board, and a Premier League representative, unanimously agreed that Taylor should have been given a penalty when Ashley Young brought down Callum Hudson-Odoi from behind 55th minute. Felt that Young did not make any contact with the ball. Hudson-Odoi had been brought down by the challenge. Every panel member recommending that VAR should have intervened. Once again, remember, this is where Nottingham Forest decided to sit there and go. Nottingham Forest had made contact with the PGMOL before the match. Hey, Stuart Atwell, he's a fan of Luton. They did not go as far as calling for the official to be withdrawn. Forrester expected to face charges for the response following the match and the rather spicy social media post that followed after the match, where the owner, Evangelinas Marinakis, who has never been one to shy away from letting you know how he feels, they had that incredibly worded social media post calling out the PGMOL. Nuno, Nico Williams, Mark Clattenburg were all asked for their observations by the FA. Premier League is also staging an investigation, and right now, Forest is only 1 point ahead of Luton in the relegation battle. And they've also been allowed to listen to the audio of the match officials' conversations for that match at Goodison Park. So you got Nottingham Forest. You're adding more fuel to Nottingham Forest fire with these kinds of things. Just continuing to add to it more, which in turn will make them angrier, and which in turn will make them feel even more and more aggrieved because, hey, look what the panel said. And so that with the panel having said what they've said, now Nottingham Forest is going to be even more on edge going forward, trying to figure out how to stay afloat in the Premier League. Once again, they've got the other decisions that have to be made by the end of the year or shortly after the end of the year if there are going to be any other points deductions, any other appeals, anything else on the board. Nottingham Forest is going to be very, very busy. I would venture more off the field than on the field in their remaining time here in the Premier League this season. There will be billable hours, and the lawyers, I think, will be the only ones who will win by the end of the day. So if you are a lawyer, or if you know a lawyer that has ties to Nottingham Forest and or Evangelinas Marinakis, I would suggest that maybe they be the ones to pick up the tab if you were to visit with them anytime in the near future, because they can afford it. Premier League is, trying to expand their reach. John Miller, not that John Miller, but the executive John Miller at NBC Sports was one of the ones who negotiated the new deal that NBC has across all their platforms with the Premier League. He's going to continue to push for Premier League matches to be played in the U.S. So by the time this contract is done, this current iteration of the contract, NBC will have had 15 years of a Premier League product on their platforms across the board. $450 million a year this go-round until 2028. More than 5 times the first deal signed when NBC started back in 2013. One of the Premier League's most significant partners, Miller, who is the president of acquisitions and partnerships, was asked about, hey, would you want to have Premier League matches in the U.S.? And one of the biggest questions you could ever ask someone who was in charge of acquisitions for your own network. The answer was pretty much a duh. Very much so. And this is a point that we've had, and this is quoting Miller, and this is a point that we've had conversations with the Premier League. They've been very open and receptive to listening to me. We did the Premier League Summer Series preseason. That was here, remember? Newcastle, Miggy, goal scored, place went nuts. 9 games, 7 days, 5 cities, 265,000 fans in attendance. All the teams came over, quoting Miller, did really well, had a great experience, really able to interact with the fan base, and the Premier League saw that it was very successful. At some point in the future, I would love to see a couple of Premier League games open the season here in big stadia on our opening weekend. And I know that's something that we'll continue to push for because I think that there's an American audience here that would like to see regular season games, but in the meantime, we'll continue to work with the Premier League to do everything we can to make the games available to as many people as possible. But yeah, Newcastle here, Chelsea here, Brentford here, Brighton here. And having a Miguel Almiron score in this building turned the building upside down. I think you had, was it 45,000 people? I think you definitely had the lower bowl sold out. I think you had some folks in the upper bowl, but you had a decent crowd. Newcastle was here, and it was once again a no duh to have Newcastle here in Atlanta in our HQ. But yeah, Miguel Almiron scored, place went nuts. You get that kind of stuff for summer series. Think what it would be like for regulation matches that counted, that involved points. Here's something that has stuck with me for a while. Separate topic. Alex is not a fan, by the way, of matches away from your own home country. It does give a bit of an odd vibe. League matches away from your country is super gross. I get it. I understand the financial implications. And you know that business partners, yeah, barnstorming friendlies, right there with you. Regular season matches, it's, baseball starting their season in Japan, baseball playing in England in a stadium. I think what did they play at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? And it was kind of like the dimensions of the LA Coliseum when the Dodgers played there. When the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles, they played initially, before Dodger Stadium was built, they played at the LA Coliseum. And the LA Coliseum, one of the fence distances might have been 300 feet. I want to say it was 297 down the line. LA Coliseum, Dodgers. All right. So when they moved, was where they spent the first couple of places. And it was an odd look. 1958, Sabre has a picture of the Coliseum. And so what they tried to do for the Dodgers at the LA Coliseum, down the left field line, it was 250 feet, which is basically a pitching wedge, maybe a sand wedge for folks from home plate. So what they did is they had a high screen in left field. And then right and right center, basically you had to hit it forever. Seating capacity over 90,000. 440 feet to right was not a home run. Single-decker seats. Just absolutely crazy. So you end up with just weird dimensions in general. But yeah, 440 feet, 250 down the line, 320 to left center, 425 to center, 440 to right center. Screen atop the left field wall. And a lot of folks thought that, with that 250-foot fence down left field, that you're going to end up with a lot of right-handed batters hitting a ball over a screen and Babe Ruth and 61 home runs, and everybody's going to be like, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. But it didn't happen that way. Same kind of vibe when you're trying to do something in a building that's not yours. You're playing baseball in Japan to start the season for American baseball. You're playing in Europe at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in a building that doesn't fit for baseball. You're doing these kinds of things, and it's just an odd duck. And I bring those examples to the table because we had the lawsuit with Relevant and FIFA and all that kind of stuff, and Stephen Ross, who wanted to have matches in Miami for European football that counted. And it's got to be the right matchup too. Because if say, let's just say for the sake of example, you had Brighton and Brentford doing a regular season match. Brighton and Brentford doing regular season. You had that at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Would that crowd fill the lower bowl of Mercedes-Benz Stadium? I don't think so. It might, just because of the wowness factor of the whole thing. You might get 40,000. You might fill up the lower bowl. But would the Premier League and NBC and any venue take that kind of a risk? Obviously, you listen to John Miller. John Miller wants to take that kind of a risk. But then what do? It's got to be a match that's worth something. It can't be Sheffield United Luton Town. And then you're giving folks a bye week or whatever flying back. I mean, it's just an odd duck across the board. To see Brighton and Brentford and Chelsea and Newcastle play a doubleheader in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, that was fun. It was a nightmare, I'm sure, for broadcasters because of all the high numbers and academy kids and things like that. But at the end of the day, yes, it's probably worth it for you financially. But if you did something in a match that mattered and it had to be teams that were really high-rent, high-order teams, are you having these same kinds of discussions? Are you shooting for lower venues? Are you shooting for the big venue? And then if you don't get the big venue and you don't get the 65 or 70,000 because it's Brighton and Brentford, then what do? It's tight shots, nothing but tight shots. So it is a conundrum that I'm wondering what league will be first to challenge what's left of the lawsuit and sit there and say, yeah, we're going to play in America, and it's going to be, for lack of a better phrase, Roma and Salernitana. It can't be that. It's got to be, whatever league you're talking about, it's got to be a name that draws folks' interests, and it's got to be names that put butts in the seats. And if you had a Classico, if you had a derby in an American venue, kind of reminds you of the cup tournaments that are in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia cut a check. Everything was there. But, the folks from Turkey were like, no, we're sending a B team, and we're going to have a cup competition, and, we're bouncing around all over the place. It's an odd duck. I know it's an inevitability, but how you present it is going to be key. And I wonder, how do you do it so you don't hurt the novelty of the idea, but still make the game an experience? And you can't overdo it either. You've got to make sure that it's one, maybe two. And it's got to be, here in probably the eastern part of the United States. So that way, if it was, say, the Premier League, you'd have your 7:30 Eastern, your 10 o'clock window, your 12:30 window, and then night matches. If you really wanted to spread it out over a day, you go 7:30, 10 o'clock window's got a couple. All the matches are on Saturday. 12:30, and then maybe a 2:30, and then maybe a 7:30. Or you do a 5 and an 8 Eastern time in the United States. So that way your entire grid is on a Saturday. It's an inevitability, but I want to know how it's presented. Because NBC/Peacock, they're not dropping this kind of coin, and then they're not saying that we don't have a seat at the table. While I'm sure that a certain aspect of it is yes or no, sir, Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Thank you for letting us continue to be your partner. And I'm still sore about it being in Nashville when they had their celebration, but I think we had She Believes here in Atlanta. If the next cycle does not have Atlanta, then I'm going to be sorely peeved, as the kids say. But it is an inevitability. But how you present it and how you hang on to it and how you take the evidence, that's going to be the big part. Do not make it look like baseball at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or baseball at the LA Memorial Coliseum. Don't make it look that way. Give it the credit it deserves. This was something that I looked at, and it's almost something that we're keeping an eye on, say. And we're trying to find answers when it comes to ACL injuries in women's football. And now there is a project that has been launched that is aimed at reducing ACL injuries in the sport. FIFPro, the PFA, the Professional Footballers Association, Nike, and Leeds Beckett University are launching a research project aimed at reducing ACL injuries in women's football. More common in women's football than men's, statistics showing that women are 2 to 6 times more likely to suffer from such injuries. Additionally, 2/3 of ACL injuries in women's football occur without any physical contact, highlighting the need, according to The Athletic, for targeted intervention strategies. And so now you have Project ACL. It's a 3-year project focusing on players in the Women's Super League after the Women's Super League called for more research. Aims to understand the current landscape surrounding ACL injuries, the environments and conditions in which they occur, identify best practices to support clubs and players, and provide solutions to mitigate injury risks. They're going to review existing academic research related to ACL injuries in professional women's football. Conduct a needs assessment for the teams and structures inside the Women's Super League. Real-time tracking of player workload, travel, and zone appearances through the player workload monitoring tool at FIFPro. And the partners are going to take the research and try and turn it into actionable strategies to support clubs and players in implementing best practices, increasing player availability, reducing ACL injuries. A couple of quotes were attached. Misconception around a perceived increase in the prevalence of ACL injury risk. The injury rates they're seeing are consistent, according to Leeds Beckett's Dr. Stacey Emmons. Been seeing this for a number of years. Given the increased professionalism of the game, we would be expecting a reduction. The injury rates are still significantly higher in female players compared to male. Project approached all WSL clubs over a week ago. Half of them have responded to the project. Quoting one particular individual, FIFPro's head of strategy and research for women's football, Dr. Alex Colvin. He says it's just timing why some teams haven't responded. Clubs also have their own research teams within those clubs that might be in conflict, so there'll probably be internal conversations, but that's obviously just speculation at this point, Colvin said. He continued, this is not a top-down approach from FIFPro saying this is really crap, you want to do this better. It's about collaboration, very, very confident that they will contribute. And Project ACL is going to hopefully share their findings with stakeholders worldwide, FIFA, confederations, and they want to advance player welfare. I'm hoping over time that we can find out answers here. But is it going all the way back to looking at the surfaces, trying to come up with empirical evidence that way? Are you looking at turf versus grass? Are you looking at how a step is taken in a particular instance? How women's ligaments respond when you're trying to do sharp movement. And what I mean by sharp movement is plant and go. And the knee in and of itself as a shock absorber is not going to be in a place where if your knee is at X angle or better, then you have a chance to damage the ligament that they're discussing, the ACL. If you plant it at a 90-degree angle versus a 45 and you're trying to make a cut and you're trying to go over here, does that cause, is it the cuts that happen, the cuts that occur during regular play, all of these different contextual things? And Hutch, you're spot on. Overtraining and fatigue have to be looked at. There are so many variables that you have to look at here in this particular topic. Game day activity, offense versus defense, pursuit, posture, strides, training, cleats, grass, turf, training, X number of hours, what is done in that training. I mean, literally, this is going to have to be a case by literally a day by day, hour by hour basis of how things are laid out. When you get out of bed in the morning, what are you doing when you hit the ground at practice? What is the regiment that your coaches are having you do? Are you doing the quick stop and starts? Are you doing the shuttle runs? Like I said, I'm just naming stuff. I'm not thinking about a basic practice. Are you talking to coaches in general and going, okay, if a coach has a particular success rate that is better than others when it comes to the health and welfare of his players, what is that particular coach doing? And probably what we should do, now that I think about this more out loud, we probably should come up with ideas on our end to figure out, okay, for the successful programs that are on the board, even from a high school level, to get things started. How are you being successful? That if we started our own empirical project with all of the contacts that we have, how are you being successful? What is your rate of injury when it comes to your players? And this is the impressionable 15 to 18 on some of our competitions. It's 18 to 22 in others. How are the 15 to 18s and the 18 to 22s, how are they managing from a women's soccer perspective? We probably should. Now that I think about it more, we probably should do our own empirical evidence. Do coaches have set regiments that they have laid out over all of these years? What is the rate of injury when it comes to particular athletes and programs, and is how are you making sure that your success is on the books and the injuries to ACLs are not? So hold me to this. Legitimately, hold me to this. When we have coaches on in this format, not like on the noon show where we're talking about other things, but at least as reminders to coaches on the girls' side. Remind me to ask about ACL injuries. And so if we can come up with our own empirical evidence of how coaches are, I don't want to use the word combating, but making sure that their players are as healthy as possible and avoiding injury as much as possible, that you have coaches that are being successful in the day-to-day, and you don't have all of the all the injuries that are stacking up. So that's that is something that that's something that we need to keep an eye on. So the folks in England are coming up with their own empirical study. We probably should just come up with our own anecdotal evidence and try and figure out, okay, training programs, level of success, balance, overtraining, fatigue, as Hutch is mentioning to the floor this morning. It's like, okay, how do you, when it comes to pushing your athletes, how do you push them? And when do you push them? And when do you use the clutch and the gas? And how do you navigate that? So I think that's probably what we need to get into. So officially reminding myself, we need to keep an eye on ACLs, and now with this particular element coming across now over in England, keep an eye on it. All right, notes from Doug Robertson at training this morning for Atlanta United. Shonda Silva, Derek Williams have joined training late, but at least they have joined training, and we are looking at that. Other notes from Major League Soccer. Did you see that San Diego FC, the new team in Major League Soccer, they are in talks to sign Chucky Lozano from PSV? About $15 million, I think, was the number that was being floated around. So it looks like San Diego FC wants to make a splash out of the blocks chasing after Chucky Lozano from PSV. Does that happen? What do they do? So we will see what happens with San Diego, and we will see if they can get Chucky Lozano. Okay, so Alex saw 12. And my mind might have been in the conversion numbers, but so if it's 12 from PSV, how serious is San Diego? And who are they bringing in? Yes, what's $3 million between friends? So San Diego wants to make a splash, and it might be Chucky Lozano. That'd be a great start for them, at least from the winning the press conference dynamic. Negotiations between Bayern Munich and Ralph Rangnick are ongoing. Quoting Nick, press. According to Guillaume Balaguer, they want him to rebuild Rangnick, not only the team, but the club. Clearly interested, as you don't get many chances to run a football club like Bayern in a time of confusion. It's the only manager they are talking to. Expected it should go one way or another by the end of the week. So you've got Ralph Rangnick, possibly, probably, maybe, perhaps, looking at Ralph Rangnick. Man, you're gonna have to bring in folks that are seriously going to want to carry the water for the press. If it is Rangnick, really keep an eye on that. Woo, boy. Other things this morning, it looks like Jorginho is going to get a new deal from Arsenal. He's expected to sign. And joined the club from Chelsea for £12 million in January 23, signing an 18-month deal. Played 35 times for Mikel Arteta across all comps. So you've got that going on. Ronaldo is agreeing to sell his stake in Cruzeiro. Ronaldo older, not CR40. Bought a controlling 90% stake at Cruzeiro for $70 million. Through his company, Terra Sports Brasil. Club confirmed on Monday they had agreed to sell the stake to Pedro Lourenço, owner of the supermarket chain Supermercados BH. Club returned to the Brazilian top flight, and their debt of $195 million was apparently cleared. Good work by them. Leicester won the championship title, beat Preston North End 3-0 yesterday. So 1 year down, and they're back. Liverpool re-signs a deal with AXA to stay on the front of the jersey. And apparently, the Premier League clubs are going to push ahead with their spending cap plans. Hard spending cap is a part of the squad cost rules. And apparently, we now know that what season it's going to be attached to, and it's 25-26. discussed at the shareholders meeting on Monday, set to be voted on in June. The salary cap, in quotation marks, is going to anchor maximum permitted spending of any club to a multiple of what the lowest earning side receives via the PL by the Premier League centralized broadcasting commercial deals. It's a $50-something million gap between 1 and 20. And so that will be intriguing. Brutzler Slater et al. Concept first brought up last year with a multiple of 4.5 in mind. A multiple of 5 is expected to be implemented if the proposal passes. So 5 times whatever the one at the bottom spends, or what the bottom gets in the centralized broadcasting commercial deals. So think 5 times. Introduction of a squad cost rule approved. Spending cap intended as a function, as a backstop to the squad cost rule. So spending cap, squad cost rule, club spending would have been tied to a percentage of their revenue. So squad costs, Chelsea, obviously, they blew the curve. £539 million in squad cost. More than blanking Manchester City by almost 5%. More than 5%, more like 7%. Manchester City's squad cost $22-23, $500 million pounds. Brentford, 109. Under the current proposal, the spending cap would have been $518 million. So 5 times Brentford, say. 4.5 times Brentford, 5 times Brentford. So 518. Doesn't really affect anybody but Chelsea. I would have thought Chelsea would have voted no. But they didn't. But Chelsea would have been the only one affected in squad cost. They would not have had to spend $20 million. If anchoring was in effect last season, according to Matt Slater, cap would have been $518. 5 times 103.6 that Southampton earned in centralized revenues. Chelsea spending more than that on wages, amortized transfer fees, and payments to agents. Manchester City not far behind. Obviously, the folks in the lower half love the idea. The ones that are in the upper half do not. La Liga already employs, they have their own kind of a spending cap deal. United City Villa against. Chelsea abstained. I think Chelsea in this case was basically, well, we better keep our mouth shut. We better keep our mouth shut on this one. We're going to abstain. You're always going to get the players' union involved. Agents are always going to sit there and raise the people's eyebrow. So 103.6 times 5, it only would have affected Chelsea. No real surprise. Other news going on, and I wanted to bring this up. So if Ropes and Tom Russo, the Airborne DJ, if their ears are ringing, this might be why, as a part of it. With what is currently going on involving our friends at 777. I don't know if you necessarily want to know this information about 777 if you are a fan of Everton, but you kind of need to know. When we talk about Everton and the takeover bid, there are 3 words that always end up in the conversation. Everton, takeover, and doubt. The Times has all 3 back-to-back to start their article. In the headline, Everton's takeover doubts grow as 777 partners' airline has collapsed. They've got one of those low-fare airlines as a part of their portfolio. Australian airline Bonza ceased flying on Tuesday. though 777 made a £16 million payment to Everton as planned this week. Bernard Lagan and Paul Joyce at the Times. Basically, Bonza just stopped flying. An internal note sent by the Bonza chief executive, Tim Jordan, obtained by Australian Financial Review, confirmed the fleet was being repossessed by an aircraft leasing company at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, yeah, we're coming in. So when are you open for business? Well, our office hours are at 9. Well, we're coming in anyway. Before your travel day starts and you put any plane in the air, we're repossessing all of your planes. 4 leased Boeing 737 MAX 8s. Chief Exec Tim Jordan quoted, "Discussions are underway regarding the viability of the business. I would imagine that if your 4 planes are repossessed, you have no business. It's kind of difficult to have a business if you have no planes, if you are an airline. I'm just saying." Well, what do you do for a living? Well, we're an airline. Well, when do you fly? Well, we don't. Well, what happened? Well, our planes got repossessed. Well, so what's next? Well, discussions are underway regarding the viability of the business. I don't quite think if you had your 4 planes towed away and being repossessed that there is any viability at present. Hutch is absolutely correct. Hutch says, "I'd like to see the tow trucks for that operation." And Alex, I have news about Newcastle coming up in short order. Alex says, "This is why you don't say anybody's better than the current guy." That is absolutely true. You do not say that. But yes, discussions are underway regarding the viability of the business. It's not viable at present. Tim Jordan admitted that the repossessions had come as a surprise to both Bonza and 777. Yeah, I could see. Well, if you're at an airport and you're tied to this particular airline and you see those tow trucks that Hutch, or maybe they just take the keys. I don't know. It's like, give me the keys. The repossessions had come as a surprise. So let me get this straight. 3 a.m., the planes are repossessed. What was it like? Did Tim Jordan get a phone call at like 3, at like 2:45 or 3 a.m., sir? Your planes are being repossessed. What? Yeah, the planes, they're being taken away. Or did Tim Jordan, when he got to work this morning at like 7:30 or 8, wander out to the hangar and the gates that Bonza is supposed to be paying for, and you don't see your planes? And it's like the John Larroquette line in Stripes. My truck! Where's my truck? Does Tim Jordan sit there and go, my planes? Where are my 4 planes? Does he have that kind of a response when he wandered into the airport if he did not see the planes being towed away? Where are my planes? They're not with you, sir, anymore. There's like a note. There's a note that's on one of the gates. To whom it may concern, we have your planes. And a phone number and an email. You call up and it's an answering service, or it's someone that sits there. Please hold, and they put you on perpetual hold, and you hear the hold music all morning. You're waiting for where are my planes? Did you read the note? We have your planes. Jordan admitted the repossessions had come as a surprise to both Bonza and 777. A former investment partner of 777, which is Bonza's private equity owner, repossessed the aircraft some while passengers were still on board. Talk about a ride you didn't pay for. It's like where are we going? The gate's over there. The plane just ends up being taken. Tow truck takes the planes off in a certain direction. We'll get you off the plane shortly. I just want to get off. I want to get off the plane. We're taking the plane over here. You'll get your luggage in short order. Passengers were still on board the planes, and they were being repossessed. Previously reported 777 being pursued in the UK for almost $30 million in unpaid aircraft leasing fees and damages. Sources indicated earlier today to the Times that the business made its latest working capital payment to Everton earlier that day for about $20 million. But your planes for your airline got repossessed. Launched in January last year after a drawn-out approval process during which the planes could not fly, meaning I don't think they were physically unable to fly. They were just not allowed to. Bonza has been plagued with aircraft shortages and abandoned several routes over the past year. A passenger disembarked a flight from Adelaide at Melbourne's airport Tuesday morning to board a Bonza connecting trip to another flight when airport staff announced to passengers all Bonza services had been canceled. Quoting the passenger, "We've just come to Adelaide to put our son on a plane to fly to London because he's going to live over there, but we were flying Bonza home. I don't know what to do. I've just been told we have to buy new onward flights." And this is the preferred bidder for Everton. 777, according to the Times, it is understood 777 Partners UK advisors have stopped representing the firm after it fell behind on payments. And Everton is trying to hold talks about restructuring $158 million, pounds. They're trying to restructure a £158 loan to complete the Everton deal. But you have an airline that has airplanes being repossessed. Your advisors in England that are supposed to help you figure out your debt load and what you can pay and what you can't have stopped because they're not getting paid. You think you can bring in Peter Brand from the movie Moneyball, the Jonah Hill character, to help you out in this situation? You get the college kid in here. We'll get him to help us out. Seriously. Heavy debt burden. Bramley Moore Dock under construction. Looking pretty cool. And this is the preferred bidder for Everton. Don't do it. And we'd also mentioned last week that I think it was individuals from Dubai are also interested now. With 777 kind of floundering, I'm trying to figure out, hey, what if we do this? The answer is no. The answer should be no. Damn well better be no. Also, according to the Telegraph and Luke Edwards, it looks like Newcastle is going to move ahead with a St. James Park expansion plan. They're going to redevelop their existing home after the conclusion of a feasibility study rather than building a new stadium. They're going to redevelop St. James Park. Plans to expand. 6-month feasibility study, architects offering a range of options to increase capacity to more than 60,000, modernize the facilities inside the stadium. Newcastle City Council has suggested Newcastle will want to discuss the length of their leasehold on St. James Park. Lease currently has 70 years to run. 70 years. 2094. Club wants to extend their lease. Talks with the council, with them and the PIF. They want to make sure that they've got long-term stability. There were 2 other sites that were under thought to build the new St. James Park or to move them. Lisa's Park, which is to the northwest, and Metro Radio Arena, which is on the water side. Earmarked for housing now. Lisa's Park, it's basically the same part of the city, but it would just not be where they currently are. But it looks like large modern multi-purpose venue on the site. And so we'll see what happens there. But it looks like that they're going to stay on site and they want to build it, but they want assurances from the city. It's like, yo, dog, be cool. And we'll stay, but we need to figure out why we're staying and if it's up for us. 2094 coming right around the corner. What to watch, where to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. Tomorrow, Tyler Pilgrim at 9:15, as he always is. Busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler at 10, if we can get him to not be busy. And we'll get you ready for everything else that's going on the planet. Gossip, Liverpool fully expect Mo Salah to stay, even as 9 figures are apparently being discussed from clubs in the league that we neither condone, endorse, nor promote. Incoming Liverpool sporting director Richard Hughes will lead talks over a new contract for Salah, which runs until 2025. Marcus Rashford might find his options limited if he chooses to leave United, PSG cooling their interest. Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace is of interest to Liverpool as they seek a replacement for Joel Matip, set to leave when his contract runs out in the summer. Ajax keen to reappoint Erik ten Hag if he's sacked by United. This is from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Although no decision is expected on his future until they play Manchester City in the FA Cup final. West Ham's interest in Julian Lopetegui has been reunited after they learned AC Milan are wavering over whether to appoint him as a replacement for Stefano Pioli. The Hammers also keen to sign Callum O'Hare from Coventry and center back Jacob Greaves from Hull. Leicester City will be able to sign players during the summer transfer window despite being put under an embargo by the EFL. It's once again from the 4-letter paper. However, they're going to have to sell players before the 30th of June to avoid PSR breach charges, and Kiernan Dewsbury Hall is getting interest from basically everybody. Brighton, Brentford, Fulham. Jermaine Defoe looks like he might be in talks to be the new manager at Sunderland, 3-letter paper. Bayern Munich have taken the first steps toward extending Leroy Sané's deal. He's open to staying when his deal ends in the summer of 25. Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. United are still planning on appointing Dan Ashworth as sporting director. The expectation that a deal over compensation with Newcastle will be agreed to soon. United is like, yeah, how about 3? Newcastle's like, nah, 15. How about 3? That's where we are. Bayern Munich, once again, the plan for Rangnick is to get a contract until 27. And Lewandowski plans to stay at Barca, not considering a move elsewhere. What to watch, where to watch it, in addition to what to listen to and where to listen to it. Remember, little 6:15, it is Dalton and McIntosh here on the network. Also, at noon, Soccer's in Session Live. We'll go through all the brackets. We'll go through everything that happened yesterday, get you ready for what's happening today. Off date tomorrow. Semifinals, girls, Thursday. Semifinals, boys, Friday. So there you go. What to watch, where to watch it, and how. Commonly referred to as soccer on TV. Champions League, 3 o'clock, Bayern and Real Madrid. CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganzas on FS1 at 9:15, Pachuca and America. The Saudi King Cup is on FS2. Go for it. Tuda NA has both the simulcasts for Champions League and the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Univision simulcasting. Philadelphia and Seattle, Morning Rich. This was the game that was abandoned. And so now this is where they've placed it. And the lineup for Philadelphia might be interesting. So we'll see what it looks like for both of these clubs. But 7:30, season pass, Philly and Seattle. So we'll see what happens with Philly and Seattle and the makeup of the makeup game later today. Championship on the plus at 3, Coventry and Ipswich. Golasso Network, the final in the Major Arena Soccer League at 10 o'clock tonight, Kansas City and Chihuahua. And Paramount Plus gives you Bayern Munich and Real Madrid at 3 o'clock. Tomorrow, by the way, is the other half of it, Borussia Dortmund and PSG. So that is what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, all that kind of stuff. So, it's been a busy morning. We kind of hybrided out a little bit. We had some we had some high school talk. Coaches came in and parachuted in because earlier in the day it was better for them than coming on in the noon hour. And once again, thanks to Kalen Pinckney from Woodville-Tompkins down in Savannah. And it was Ben Grassmyer from North Oconee, their big win last night over Starr's Mill at Starr's Mill. They advanced right-hand side of the bracket, and they were going to play Westminster in the semifinals on Thursday. Alex reminding us about Sunderland completely and totally floundering this year. He is not wrong. And when you look at the tables and how things went in the championship, Ipswich, 1 game to go. Coventry, 1 game to go. And this is big for Ipswich because if Ipswich wins with 1 match to go, they would have a 3-point lead on Leeds. Basically, Monday Night Football is on Tuesday for match 45, going into the last game of the regular season in the championship, just to let you know. Leicester clear. 97 points. They can't get touched. Ipswich could win out. They'd only have 96. Leeds wins. They got 93. Leicester wins 3 in a row to finish their season. They're at 97 points. Playoff is still in doubt. It's either going to be Leeds or Ipswich clearing 90 points and not making automatic promotion. So if it's going to be Leeds or Ipswich not being automatically promoted. Southampton in, and then 3 teams, 2 spots. Hull City has to win and hope West Brom loses. Norwich gets a point, they're in. West Brom is at 72 points. They picked the wrong time to lose 3 in a row. 3 teams, 3 points, 2 spots for the playoffs. Nobody else can get in. Middlesbrough can't do any better than 69 points. And at Coventry, if they were to win today to help out Leeds, Coventry could only get to 70 points. Relegation battle could have as many as 4 clubs or 5, depending on math and who wins and who doesn't. So keep an eye. Huddersfield is the one that's in most trouble. Kevin Nagel is going to, he said on social media that he is going to, after the season is over, he's going to have his post-season talk, and he's going to address a lot of issues. One of the supporters for Huddersfield had like a list of 12 questions, and Nagel said, yep, I'll answer them when the season's over. Huddersfield's at 45. They basically need to win and get help. They win, they get to 48 points, but they are horrible on goal difference. Birmingham City would need to lose, but Huddersfield is in a world of hurt, and they would need like massive math not to be relegated. Blackburn's at 50. Sheffield Wednesday's at 50, well behind on goal difference. They would be the one closest to the drop. Plymouth Argyle's at 48. They're all above the drop zone right now. Birmingham City's at 47. Huddersfield's at 45. Rotherham's done. League One. What happened? Portsmouth in. Derby in. Playoffs. Barnsley at Bolton. Oxford United at Peterborough. Posh, 7 points clear of Oxford United. Relegated. Cheltenham, Fleetwood, Port Vale. We talked about Port Vale and one of their former players getting a pilot's license, and Carlisle United, who lost 5 of 6. League Two. Stockport, Wrexham, Mansfield, all promoted. Trying to define the 4th spot. Crawley at the team that I don't talk about by name, the Carpetbaggers, and Crew at Doncaster, separated by 1 goal in goal difference, both at 71 points. Doncaster had a hot finish to storm the tower. So that's League 2. Relegated Sutton United and Forest Green Rovers back to the National League. National League teams up to League 2. Chesterfield in 106 goals in 46 matches. And then it is a battle with 6 teams trying to get to that second spot. So we'll see who that second team is that gets promoted. But that is what it looks like when it comes to all of the teams and the promotions and relegations and such, with tables and permutations and all that kind of stuff. But yes, Sunderland did not have a good season. They did not have a good season at all. And so, being in the championship, and we looked at it the other day. Sunderland, 116 out of 45, 56 points. They were in that massive humanity that was in there. So if we go to the bottom half of the table, just in the championship before we go, we'll go 12 through 24. Cardiff, Swansea, Watford, Sunderland, QPR, Stoke, Blackburn, Huddersfield, 8. 8 of the 12 in the lower half of the championship in the last decade were in the Premier League. Tried to spend to get back into it, and they have not been successful. Spending against hope. That if we spend all this money, then we'll get back in. 8 of the 12, bottom half of the championship table. Sunderland, a part of that group. Sunderland made it back into the championship, mind you, but they were still in that group in the lower half. So once again, tomorrow, 9:15, Tyler Pilgrim dropping by. We'll get to talk about the Sunday set piece that he did with Jason. And we'll also talk about Atlanta United, anything else on his mind, coming off of Chicago, getting ready for Minnesota. And we'll discuss all of that. Also, if Dylan Butler is free, hopefully we can catch up with Dylan. So we'll catch up with him as well. So that's tomorrow, in addition to everything else that's on the table. Off day, weather permitting for the GHSA, but we will do Soccer's in Session live tomorrow at noon. All week long, Soccer's in Session at noon, coming up in about 40 minutes. And we'll talk to coaches, get you through the brackets from yesterday, and get you ready for the brackets for today on the boys' side. 6:15 pregame, Maddie and I will be down at McIntosh. Jess and Jason will have the call for you when it comes to McIntosh and Dalton. Looking forward to that one. Atlanta Soccer tonight from an undisclosed location is going to be at 10 o'clock on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Thanks for dealing with a hybrid Tuesday and dealing with news and dealing with high school. And it was a fun one. So once again, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. Back at it here on the network in about 40 minutes to discuss everything high school for the 12 o'clock hour. Spend your lunch with us, and we'll get you ready for Dalton and McIntosh tonight. Morning show back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning. Once again, thanks to everybody who got to hang out with us as you always do and be a part of the discussion here and be a part of the family here at SDH. Mucho Platiel, play it safe. It's the end of the show. That means I get to do this. See you back here in about 40 minutes.